Hi, I'm Gail, and David is behind the camera today. Today we are going to explore something a little bit different. You're used to seeing David and I at the Union Station leaving or coming home on a train ride. Today we are walking in town in Winnipeg, just a few blocks north of here at the iconic junction of Portage and Main. So why don't you join me there? Our little excursion today is a brief architectural tour. Winnipeg has the most magnificent architecture that rivals any in North America. We're going to look at 7 buildings by John D. Atchison, who was the most prolific and I'd say terrific architect from the turn of the last century. The first building that we're going to look at is right behind me. It is the Union Trust Building. This was Atchison's tallest building ever, and in fact was built during Winnipeg's great boom at the turn of the last century, where Winnipeg was financing the opening of the Canadian West. This building is important as an early skyscraper in Winnipeg. It is made of steel frame construction, something that Atchison was very aware of because he was trained in Chicago and studied under the father of the skyscraper, William LeBaron Jenney. This building, built in 1912, is also interesting because of its cladding. The first 2 floors are clad in a beautiful marble from the Kootenay area of British Columbia in Canada. But the rest of the building, the upper floors, are clad in terracotta, a high-grade clay that was manufactured in Chicago, essentially Atchison's hometown. Our second Atchison building is the Bank of Hamilton right behind me. This is another one of his skyscrapers, but quite different from the first one that we looked at. In fact, that first one is on the same city block. Those 2 towers by Atchison flank the magnificent Bank of Commerce building, not of his design, but which was and is a massive Edwardian structure which is not overpowered by these 2 tall buildings. In fact, they all complement each other. The Bank of Hamilton is very different from the first building we saw. Still steel frame, but now it's clad in Manitoba Tyndallstone, a type of limestone. The effect is a much more somber building, less exuberant than a Union Tower. Now that's partly because of the material, it's also because of the style. This is basically a stretched Renaissance palace. It's just gorgeous. But you know, it was built during a time of material and labor shortage during World War I. This block is the last intact block of Winnipeg's Bankers Row, which dated from around the World War I era. Secondly, these 2 Atchison skyscrapers, together with a third by another designer down the street, form the early skyscrapers in Winnipeg National Historic Site. Winnipeg has many monolithic early skyscrapers. And all of this just a block from iconic Portage and Main. You may wonder why I get so excited by this man, John D. Atchison. Well, I have written a book on him, just recently released, published by the Winnipeg Architecture Foundation. Check the description to this video below for information should you be interested in acquiring the book delivered anywhere in the world. It covers Atchison's training and 11-year career in Chicago, which informed his time here in Winnipeg, 18 years during which he transformed the Winnipeg skyline, as well his later years in California where he moved. Atchison was an American, became a Canadian while he was here in Winnipeg, and became an American once again. Okay, so I'm now on Portage Avenue, having turned at Portage and Main, and behind me is our third building, now called the White House. It's the building that looks like a classical temple, but in fact It is a steel frame structure and an example of an elaborate early commercial structure built in 1909. You know, Atchison was working in Chicago, studying under the father of the skyscraper during the Great Chicago Fair, and this fair of 1893 repopularized classical architecture. And here you've got Atchison playing with that, with what looks like a little temple. It is clad in terracotta, again custom made in Chicago. Notice how elaborate it looks with cherubs at the top, wreaths, flowers, garlands. It's really, really interesting. It looks as if it were carved, but no, terracotta, that high-grade clay, could be formed to make things that look like statuary. It could be made in any color or in any texture. This is the rather common but very beautiful kind of terracotta that looks like porcelain and is very light in color, usually ivory or white or beige. Our fourth building is right across from the White House on Portage Avenue. This is the Curry Building. It was built in the time of World War I in 1915. It is a lovely and unusual building with elaborate Gothic-like carvings around the door and on these lovely columns. And this intricate look is on this block-long building, and also it continues on the side for half of the block on either side. This is a building that is clad in terracotta, but this terracotta, also made in Chicago, also made by the Northwestern Terracotta Company, it is made to look like granite. The Curry Building is a good example of Atchison's design genius. This building is only 2 stories high, but it was intended to be 5 stories tall and maybe as high as 10. Yet, in its incomplete state, with just being the base of what would have been a massive building, it has an elegance that graces Portage Avenue. Why the building didn't grow to be the height it was intended, anyone can guess. We know a few things. The owner-developer, Mr. Curry, had just retired, and he was maybe losing interest in the building. He was living largely in the US and in Britain. As well, just as the first plans were being drawn, and this was as early as 1913, he was bilked of a great deal of money by the Gondorf gang that is featured in the movie The Sting. It was actually that crooked scheme that he was taken by, a wire scheme. And then there were times when it was going to be enlarged. There'd be notices in the paper. The last time was in 1929, just before the market crash. We're just 2 blocks from Portage in Maine. We've just turned the corner on what's called Gary Street. And, well, we're looking at this lovely red building as our next Atchison building. It gives us another example of his range of architectural styles. This is something of an Italian Renaissance building. And as well, use of another kind of a cladding material. It's a red sandstone, which is really not seen in Winnipeg. That soft stone lends itself to carving. So whereas our terracotta examples were made by sculptors but placed in molds and baked in kilns and could be repeated again and again and again, these carvings are uniquely made on the surface by somebody. So here we've got 2 facades, a front facade and a longer side facade, and strangely enough, that side facade faces today, and always has, a back lane. And yet, that care was taken to make a beautiful, ornate building facing onto a back lane. And it even extends beyond with some common brick, so it's quite a long building. It has, as I say, beautiful carving, which you can see with the cartouche at the top, the balustrade, and just all the different details. Really something lovely. This building was called the Thomas Building in 1908 when it was first built, and that year Atchison was commissioned to build a second story on that building, also in a very plain brick as the original. It only got really fancy in 1914 when a new company bought the building, the Inglis Company of Montreal. They were purveyors of military uniforms and civilian wear, and they had their Montreal architect redesign the front. He mail cataloged the terracotta. So it wasn't custom made for the building, it was simply bought from a catalog, and it was not a Chicago firm, but a New York State firm called the Atlantic Terracotta Company. Our final building is really an appropriate place to end. It is Atchison's design of the former Great West Life Assurance headquarters. That company is now known as Canada Life. Well, he built this building in 2 stages. The first stage, between 1909 to 1911, takes us up to the narrow triple windows that you see. Then, a decade later, between 1922 and 23, he designed the upper stories, the additional 4 stories to the building. You can't tell. It is a seamless whole that visually is very pleasing. So it shows that you can build buildings in 2 stages. It's too bad the Curry building was not further designed by Atchison, but here is a building that did successfully grow up. Also, this building is mostly faced with the marble from the Kootenay Mountains that we had actually seen with the first building. And so it's quite amazing that they could go to that original quarry called Marblehead Quarry in 1909, and then a decade later they could go back and get matching stone, all with the exception of the very top floor. That is a very fancy floor. It looks carved. Well, wouldn't you know it, it's terracotta from Chicago, from the American Terracotta Company. So you get that fusion of Canadian and American, early Atchison, and Atchison in his very last year here in Winnipeg, and that is where we end. Well, there you have it, a tight tour of John D. Atchison buildings in just a 10-block area of downtown Winnipeg. There are more within a stone's throw of even these buildings. If you like this tour, this video, please press like and consider subscribing to Travel Intently if you haven't already. And if you're interested in the book on John D. Atchison, which includes thumbnail pictures of all of his existing buildings in North America, US and Canada, please check that description of where you can get it from Winnipeg Architecture Foundation.